Today, we're exploring the flipped meeting model, what it is and how it works, and how you can use it to avoid meeting burnout and fatigue. Thanks today to Twist for sponsoring today's video. You can check them out in the link in the description. We've been using them for 3 years now. We love how they help us to communicate asynchronously. Now, we've all seen this classic tweet or meme, maybe it was shared around your office during COVID. This could have been an email, not a meeting. We've had this experience with a lot of things. Presenteeism is so popular when it comes to actually being involved in meetings. People want you there, but your contribution might not be as valuable, and it might always be useful to attend meetings all the time. But it's becoming a real factor in today's modern connected world. Now, meetings can be helpful, but they typically produce problems when the default for any situation that requires input from somebody else, a time management crutch for leaders too overwhelmed to find time on their own to dig into issues or review work. There are shortcuts to avoiding clearly thinking through issues and documenting decisions. They're a lazy substitute for building team culture and cohesion, or an easy way for insecure managers to feel important and in control. They're typically how meetings arise these days. And obviously that's tough to hear for some people, maybe even a manager listening to this, but meetings should be an exception in people's work days, not a rule. I think this can definitely be helped a lot when it comes to learning about the flipped classroom method. This is actually something that's used already in education, and it's adapted from this. So it's all about using the synchronous time effectively for analyzing and applying, and using the other time for really focusing on the quality. So for example, in this, we sort of refer to Bloom's taxonomy. So in the flipped classroom model, remembering and understanding happened before class, applying and analyzing actually happened during class, and after class, evaluating and creating happened there. And this is really helpful to look at because when we look at this chart, it can translate and apply to our work days and meetings. During the meetings, we want to apply and analyze. We want to use that time effectively when we're collaborating with other people. But before, we want to be able to take advantage of deep work and doing deeper stuff like evaluating and creating and remembering and understanding before we actually get to the meeting, instead of doing all of those aspects in the meeting. Now, here are some useful 6 tips and rules for flips meetings. The first of those is meeting time should be reserved for meaningful interaction, not conveying information. So number 2 is focus on having fewer meetings first, then figure out how to make ones you do have better. So for example, focusing on the quality of meetings, reducing them, and then focusing on the quality of them once you've got that framework. Number 3, everyone should come prepared with the information and context to participate. This can be through Twist threads, almanac documents, Loom videos, pitch presentation recordings are all great ways to provide context asynchronously before the meeting. And that goes back to the sort of remembering and understanding aspect of the Bloom's taxonomy. So number 4 is no one should feel obliged to attend a meeting where their active participation isn't needed. This is something that I always hated when I worked in a job that required a lot of meetings, is that sort of presenteeism. And I was like on the fringes of being part of that conversation when I didn't really need to be there and I could be doing useful or deep interactive work. Number 5, meetings should be limited to fewer than 8 people. The upper limit beyond which meaningful participation falls off and people become more guarded and less candid. 5 or fewer is even better. And this is because this sort of communication with like more than 8 people could probably be a webinar or something like that, because you're trying to push that work asynchronously, at least, because the dramatic dropping in participation goes more than 8. It really does become a lot harder, and you become more reserved when there are more people because your voice feels like it's not, or some people's voices become louder. And number 6, outcomes should always be documented afterward for people who couldn't or didn't need to attend. A lot of technologies more recently can help us do this, summarizing and really taking advantage of it. So how do you integrate this into a workday? Well, before the meeting, don't just send an agenda across with top level points you want to discuss. You could start a thread, document, or digital whiteboard, providing all the information and context for that person to participate meaningfully in the meeting. This is so helpful. And the same goes to after the meeting. In the same thread or document, you can start summarizing what the outcome was and any action points. Typically, we know this already, but it's really helpful to have that context. Anyone who wasn't able and needed to attend needs to be able to follow along without any context. And that's super helpful because they can be able to summarize everything in one. Now, this is something that you might want to start using, but the company all hands on could be company-wide threads. Town halls could be asynchronous Q&As. Stand-ups and status updates could be async snippets that people can post on the sort of on Twist or whatever sort of app you're using. But it's really definitely useful to have that sort of rule and philosophy to replace existing ones. So hopefully you found this helpful. Do check out Twist if you fancy it. And thank you for diving into the flipped meeting model with us here at Keep Productive. Do subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.
Thank you very much for watching today's video. If you're interested in checking out some more, you'll find them here, and also you can subscribe to as well. It'd be great to have you here to optimize your tool. And if you're interested in our new email newsletters or our Bento application, or even Toolfinder, which is a new tool that we've created to help you find the perfect productivity tool, you can find it linked in the description.